All right, guys, welcome to the video. So today we're going to talk about 5 crucial business lessons that I wish I knew when I was 20 or a teenager. Now, this is not just for 20-year-olds. This is not just for teenagers. This is, goes across the board for new entrepreneurs and seasoned entrepreneurs alike. So I want you to kind of use this as a checklist, make sure that you're not doing any of these, and if you are, I want you to address them. This is literally, if I could go back in time, if you put me in a time machine and you gave me the opportunity to go back to 18-year-old Brian or 20-year-old Brian or 25-year-old Brian, whatever, I'm currently 28, this is the stuff that I would tell myself to look out for. I would shake myself and I'd say, you need to pay attention to these. You don't want to make these mistakes. So I hope that you pay attention to this video, and if you got any value out of this video at any point in time, please hit that thumbs up button. It does a lot to help the channel and the video with YouTube algorithm. And drop a comment down below before we get into this and let me know what your biggest mistake, what your biggest tip is. If you could go back in a time machine and give a tip to your 20-year-old self, what would you tell yourself? What would be that number one tip that you would give yourself? First and foremost is, and this is a big one, and one that I see a lot of entrepreneurs making, and it's almost a rite of passage in a lot of ways, and I kind of just got over this hump realistically in the last 6 months or so, and that is that you can't do it all by yourself. You need to build a network, plain and simple. I fought this for so long, not just on my YouTube channel, but just in entrepreneurship in general. I would, literally try to do everything myself. You need to stop doing everything and looking at everything as, you're one man fighting the entire world. You need to go out there and find, other like-minded people, network with them, build relationships with them, basically helping other entrepreneurs. It will pay you dividends when you build that network. Other people have other connections. Other people have other, basically insights and perspectives. Other people can point things out to you and help you out. And this is probably, the number one tip that all entrepreneurs and new entrepreneurs really need to hear. And, that's basically, you don't want to go at it alone. You need to build a network. Moving on to number 2, and that is diversify. Now, we've all heard this a million different times, but stick with me. I promise you haven't heard it like this. So you don't just want to diversify your income streams. Obviously, that goes without saying. We've heard that, bombarded into our heads over and over and over again, and that's smart. You want to diversify your income streams, but also diversify the platforms that you're on, the approaches that you're making, the business models that you're learning, and, the avenues that you can do. I've probably bought a good, maybe 1,000 books, and, maybe a good 500 of them, have not helped me. I haven't read, 500 of them. But what I'm trying to say is half of the ones that I've read, probably haven't helped me. But there was value in reading those and understanding that that's not the way that I want to go. That doesn't interest me. So that's what I'm trying to say. Diversify your approaches, learn and fail. It's okay, you're young. A great example of this, I'm going to give you 3 really fast here. So only going at, Amazon FBA, or only going at private labeling and just sticking to Amazon. That's an example of, not being diversified. You don't have another income stream. You don't have another platform that you're relying on. And if for whatever reason, Amazon is a third-party platform that you don't own and you don't control. So if for whatever reason, Jeff Bezos decides to wake up tomorrow morning and change something in the terms of service that makes it less advantageous for you to operate how you're operating, or, get reviews how you're getting reviews, which was a big thing in 2018, or, anything across the board, just sticking to Shopify, just sticking to eBay. I've been suspended from Amazon. I've been suspended from eBay. And what I can tell you is, it really gives you peace of mind when you diversify and you're not just attached to one platform. If you have a YouTube channel, how can you build your YouTube channel faster? How can you grow on YouTube? Build other social media platforms as well. You shouldn't just be focusing on building YouTube. Your Instagram is going to funnel traffic to your YouTube, while your YouTube funnels traffic to your Instagram. Your Facebook's going to funnel traffic to your Instagram. Your Facebook's going to funnel traffic to your YouTube. They all work in tandem, so don't just put all your eggs in the YouTube basket. Build on all platforms. They will all pay each other dividends. Another great example would be, marketing efforts. So one of the things that I've done in the past is, one of the first things that I learned actually when I was, running ads was actually Facebook ads. And, it updates and, different things work differently back in 2017, than they do here in 2019. The algorithm changes, It gets more competitive, bidding on keywords or retargeting pixels and stuff like that. There's a bunch of different approaches, but it gets more competitive, it gets more expensive, and you need to adapt. But more importantly than adapting would be diversify the platform. So I didn't just learn Facebook ads, which was a mistake that I made initially. I also learned Bing ads, which I didn't like. I learned that I didn't really like Bing ads. I also learned Google, basically running AdWords on Google and Google Display Networks, which I learned, firsthand. It's easy for somebody to tell you this, but I learned firsthand that it was more expensive than Facebook ads, in my opinion, for what, the keywords and the basically niche that I was targeting. And more importantly, I learned how to run YouTube ads and retarget with YouTube ads, which has been crucial for some of my business ventures. Now, Facebook ads is probably my favorite one, for a lot of different reasons, especially with e-commerce, but it's important to diversify not just your income streams, but your marketing efforts, the platforms that you're on, and just your overall approach to business. Moving on to number 3 now, and that is something that a lot of entrepreneurs need to hear, and that's that it's going to take a lot longer than you think it will, and that's okay. It's great to be ambitious, and in today's day and age, it can be very difficult. You look around and you see all these people younger than you that are succeeding at crazy levels, and you think, okay, I can do that in a year. We all do it. I know you do it, I know I do it. It's human nature. I'm not saying you won't do it, quite the opposite actually. You can literally do almost anything if you're willing to put the work in. But most people, and this is a saying that I love, most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a year. But they underestimate what they can accomplish in a decade. It's all about consistency. What I also want to say is, yes, it's going to take longer than you think, but it's also going to take a lot shorter than you think too. There's something I want to talk about really fast, and that is the compound effect, which, by the way, is a book that I actually recommend. I don't actually have the physical version of this book, but I do have the digital ebook version on my Kindle. If we scroll through here really fast. Great book. I love, books on Kindle, but sometimes I like to have the physical book in my, max possession so I can highlight it. I love that feeling. There's something about holding a tangible book and reading through it. But that is a book that I recommend. If you haven't checked out any of the other books, they're always linked at the very bottom of the description. I highly recommend that if you're a new entrepreneur, you look into those 10 books. They have changed my life, and I really love, the perspective that they teach. But if you've been putting in work consistently for a while, and you're not really seeing the results that you hoped, that's okay. Keep putting in the work. The compound effect basically states that if you're putting in work consistently for a while, you've been doing it every single day, and maybe it's been discouraging that you haven't seen that breakthrough, you might just be on the edge of that breakthrough. This might just be the one YouTube video that you create that blows up and then changes it. But guess what? It won't be because you got lucky, or because, you just sent the right Facebook ad out for your Shopify store and you got really lucky and you targeted right. No, what it will be is because you put that work in consistently, hence the compound curve, that really, all that work that you put in initially forged the foundation for you to build on that success and actually get, lucky, so to speak. We've all also heard that, that quote, that famous quote where it's like, the harder I work, the luckier I seem to get. The more I show up, the luckier I seem to get. Well, that's grounded and based in truth. So I want to give you a real life practical example of how this could apply to you. So we'll call you Johnny. I don't know why. Johnny's the first name that popped into my mind. And so what the compound effect basically states is this red line stands for what people think, is the normal linear success curve. And it actually doesn't. So we're going to take 3 different examples, Johnny A, Johnny B, and Johnny C. Johnny B goes about his normal life. Maybe he creates content, he's a YouTuber, and he also does a little bit of e-com stuff. He goes about his normal life, just like any other day, doesn't change anything, goes about, doing, his e-com stuff and working however hard he's working and putting in his 8 hours a day. Nothing changes. He stays on that normal curve, wherever that might end up, in the future to where his life is at. Johnny A, however, is, maybe he puts in an extra hour of work a day, instead of watching his favorite Netflix show. And Johnny C decides, what, I'm not really seeing the results that I was hoping for. I've been working really, really hard this past year, and it hasn't really paid off for me. So what he does instead is he only works 5 hours a day now, 6 hours a day maybe. And he decides that, what, I've built up this e-commerce empire. I've built up my Shopify store. I've put enough YouTube videos out
out, so I'm going to just, keep on where I'm at, but I'm only going to work 5 to 6 hours a day now instead of 8 hours a day because, I've built my passive income streams and it doesn't really seem that the hard work is paying off like I want it to. Over time, Johnny B will stay, on that same success curve. He just stays stagnant. Johnny A, however, the one that was working just 1 more hour a day, this might be like, a month into it right here. And everybody's still relatively close, along the line. The guy that was working, 5 hours a day, Johnny C, is practically on the same success level as Johnny A, who's been putting in, 3 to 4 more hours a day work than him. You can't really tell at all. Now, maybe we jump 2 more months, 2 months from then, and they're still relatively close. But what you start to realize is, that this is exactly the point of the compound effect that I wanted to talk about, is you have to put that work in consistently over time and let it accumulate. It will compound. So if we jump, maybe here 6 months now into the future, but now you're starting to see a little bit of space. So Johnny A has made a name for himself. You can kind of see that he's a little bit more successful than Johnny B, and you can also see that Johnny C is starting to, maybe lose money. Maybe he was making $6,000 a month on a Shopify store. Now it's only pulling in 4 because he's kind of revved back the engines. Same thing with his YouTube channel. Maybe he's not making enough, ad revenue on YouTube or getting paid, however he monetizes his YouTube channel because he stopped putting in enough work. And so as you move forward and as you get more along this time frame as we go forward, you'll start to know that the person that just put in a little bit more work every single day benefited off that compound effect, and they're up here maybe a year or 2 later, whereas Johnny C's all the way down there, and Johnny B just stayed where he normally was. So that's what I want you to think about. Think about little daily increments, consistent work over time. Let the compound effect work for you, and it will pay off. I guarantee you.
Now that we touched on the importance of the compound effect, I want you to take that and apply that to every lesson that you learn, obviously in this business and in your overall day-to-day life. And that's going to take us to number 4, which is avoid debt. Now, this is a big one, and obviously this is not for, the people, the entrepreneurs or the small business owners that are on the next level looking to leverage debt to build wealth. That's a very real thing, and, that's next level stuff. That's not, what we're talking about here. This is for you. Yes, you sitting here watching this video right now. Now, this is an important thing because, a lot of new entrepreneurs and heck, just young people in general constantly abuse credit cards. And don't even get me started about school loans. We won't even get into that, but we're just going to take the example of credit cards and just apply that to, just avoiding debt in general. I look across the board and it just really amazes me that so many different people are willing to just rack up credit card debt, month in and month out with no plan to actually pay it back, buying the next, $1,000 Supreme bag or, buying $300 Yeezys. It goes back to that Will Smith quote. Do you really like that, or do you like, the status symbol that, you're portraying it as? Don't put the cart before the horse, essentially, and make sure that you can actually afford these things. Maybe buy an asset that can pay for that bag, or buy an asset and start building up an asset, that will pay for your Yeezy habit or whatever it is. Be very conscious of these things, and I want you to be very, very careful about how you're using credit cards. Now, as somebody who's genuinely been in a lot of debt in the past and knows exactly how annoying and how heart-wrenching it is to claw your way out of it, I really want this lesson to be imparted on you. It's something to take very seriously. You get those suggestions from other people that says, take out a loan, bet on yourself. And while it's important to bet on yourself in a lot of forms and capacities, I don't want people watching this to think that, taking out a loan is a good idea.
So what's your small business entrepreneur?
99% of small businesses you can start with next to no capital. It's more about effort. Small businesses don't fail for lack of capital. They fail for lack of brains. They fail for lack of effort. Most people just aren't willing to put in the time to work smart.
So you heard it just from him. I'm not the only one saying this. There's nothing wrong with leveraging debt if you're trying to build wealth. There's nothing wrong if you're trying to build a tech company, taking out a loan. The majority of us are not doing those things, and I think it is really, idiotic, for lack of a better word, to go out and mortgage your future by charging something up or taking out a loan on something when you don't need to. And that is the main thing I want to get across. You can, build it on sweat equity. Now, by all means, go out and use your credit cards. I'm not, that person that says, don't use your credit cards. Building up credit and using credit cards is a very real thing, and it's a very important thing. But the far majority of, entrepreneurs and young people in general are on the complete other side of that spectrum. They're not using it responsibly. They're, using it very irresponsibly. So as somebody who's used it very irresponsibly and knows the repercussions, I just caution you to be very, very careful about your spending habits. Now that we have your debt under control finally, I want to talk about number 5, which is one that, is really near home to me, especially recently, and that is invest, invest, invest. Did you know that if you just put your money into a savings account, you're losing out to inflation over the years, so you're actually losing money? Now, me personally, I like investing in the stock market. There's something about seeing the return on my money, every single day, whether it's going up and down or it's volatile or it's not. Just knowing full well that, I can see the return every single day, unlike real estate, where it's like, there's no tangible number that tells you what it's valued at. I like real stocks for that reason, not real estate. Knowing full well that if I keep it in there for the long term, it's going to accumulate more and compound. So I know full well that it's a foolproof investment if I don't have to liquidate and get that money out, in the foreseeable future, which I don't. Now, you don't have to invest in stocks. You don't have to invest in, real estate. And if you're saving up to, for a rainy day fund, then more power to you. But I want to, really kind of get you thinking and start you now. Start looking at investments now. Don't invest in anything you don't understand, but start looking into things so you can learn more about them and make a play. And if you guys do want to get 2 free stocks to get you started, you can get 2 free stocks down in the description. I'll pop a little picture of it up on the screen right now. I'm an affiliate with Webull, and I'm also an affiliate with Robinhood. Both of those stocks are 100% free. You simply just have to sign up to get them, and then once you sign up, they go right into your account. Now, I'm an affiliate for both of them, but I also have accounts and stocks on both of those platforms, and I really, really enjoy them. Honestly, Robinhood a little bit more than Webull. I find it a little bit more beginner friendly, but Webull's a great place as well, and also gives you a different feel and a different, kind of app look. Whereas Robinhood, you have the website and the app. With Webull, you only have the app. There's no actual website for that. So now, if you're looking for a really safe place to get started with the stock market, I could suggest you like a retirement fund or something. A lot of different things. I'm not an expert, so I don't want to really give advice, but I would suggest maybe looking into an ETF, maybe a Vanguard ETF, where you don't really have to know that much about the stock market. That way you're not investing in stocks where you have to actually research and you have to know a little bit about the company, the balance sheet, and if there's a dividend or whatever. You can just invest in a Vanguard ETF where they're doing all the work for you, and your money is pretty safe, for lack of a better word, and it will just grow over time. Like I said, I'm not an expert, so do your due diligence, but that would be my suggestion for the majority of you. If you don't know anything about it, just put your money into a Vanguard ETF. So hope you guys like this video. I put a lot of work into this video, and I really genuinely believe that if I could go back in time and shake 18 to 20-year-old Brian, these are the 5 things that I would tell him to really focus on and learn right now, because they're gonna make a difference. And if I could go back and I look across the board and I see other YouTubers that are like 18 and like 15 and like 20, and they understand these things already, and it amazes me. I hats off to them, honestly. I wish I knew this stuff back when I was that age. So give it a thumbs up if you guys like this video, and I'll see you in the next one.